So Wuthering Waves' first anniversary just came to an end, and it sucked. I've been playing this game since day one, and I can confidently say this update falls in the bottom 3 patches of all time. But what was it about this update that made players hate it so much? Most people would say that it was because the events were boring and the rewards were mediocre. And while that is true, there's also another part to this story. That being everything that happened in the weeks leading up to the anniversary's release. And that's what I wanted to talk about today. So sit back everyone, and let's discuss why Wuthering Waves' anniversary was doomed to fail. So right off the bat, this anniversary was kind of set up to fail due to the position of the patch. For those of you who don't know, Wuthering Waves alternates between MSQ patches, which are of a much higher quality and contain tons of exciting new updates, and filler patches, which are usually more dull and generally disliked. The anniversary landing on a filler patch already puts it at a huge disadvantage. We wouldn't be getting any MSQ or new area, so it was fully reliant on events to keep people entertained. That meant for players to be happy with this update, these events had to be nothing short of incredible. Like, I'm talking top tier, mind-blowingly good. So, were they? Well, no. They were terrible actually, but we'll talk more about that next time. Something else I wanted to discuss is Kuro Games' track record. They had been riding high when it came to updates post 2.0. We had 2.0 itself, which completely changed the game and is widely regarded to be not only the best patch in the game's history, but the history of gacha gaming itself. Then we had 2.1, and even though it was a filler patch, it actually ended up being really enjoyable and had a considerable amount of content. We got 2 new areas, 2 world quests, 1 companion quest. We saw Kuro dip their toes in multi-role characters for the first time. We got 2 new endgame modes, although to be honest, both of them fell flat on their face initially. Echo presets, and to top it all off, we got an entire fishing game mode. Not a mechanic or a feature, this was literally a game in and of itself. Following that was 2.2, which arguably had the best story quests in the entire game, alongside, in my opinion, the best event this game has ever seen. The point is, we were eating good, and as a result, player expectations were through the roof for what was to come next, which unfortunately also meant it was easier for them to be disappointed. Now, this alone didn't necessarily have to be a problem. Kuro delivered amazing patches 3 times in a row, so why can't they do it once more? Well, the problem actually lies in what comes after the anniversary, that being version 2.4, aka Wuthering Waves' bi-yearly major update. For those of you who are unaware, Wuthering Waves set a goal to release a major update once every 6 months. So we get one at the start of the year and then one around mid-June. These updates come with huge map expansions, new game modes, characters, QOL, boss battles, and so much more. Therefore, it's more than likely that a majority of development time and resources was focused on developing 2.4, taking away the focus from 2.3 and hence leaving it with even less content than usual. Now, this is actually really common in live service games. The dry periods in a game's patch are usually followed up by the biggest updates because of the amount of time and resources going into making those updates as big as they are. Personally, I'm completely fine with getting 1 or 2 dry patches a year if it means we get new regions every 6 months. But the problem here is that the anniversary just so happened to land on one of the 2 dry patches we would be getting in a year if Kuro decided to continue with this cycle. This is a bigger problem than it may seem because it not only means the anniversary patch would be boring this year, but also for every year to come. Now, there are multiple ways to fix this, but I think the best way would be to bring the patch cycle forward by 1 patch. We just need the anniversary to land on one of the 2 major patches once, and if Kuro follows on their 6-month plan, we would be getting a major update alongside the anniversary every year. This would be huge for the game because players would be able to enjoy both the major patch as well as the anniversary celebrations together, and the excitement generated from this would encourage more people to try out the game, which is never a bad thing. TLDR, just copy ZZZ, they handled it much better. Something else that contributed to the failure of this anniversary was the leaks. This one was kinda unfortunate since it wasn't even in Kuro's control. They straight up got sabotaged. In case you didn't know, before the anniversary livestream, there was a rumor being spread around that we would be given a selector for one of 3 limited 5-star characters, being Jian, Yinlin, and Shang Liao, alongside their signature weapons. This rumor was backed up by the fact that all 3 of them had their Conweed splash arts updated in the beta, and that the character selector ticket from the release of the game had been added back into the files, which gave rise to the theory that we'd be able to pull them for free. Now, most people were skeptical about this leak and were waiting on the live stream for official confirmation about this reward, But as for the remaining people, yeah, I'm sure you can guess how that went. As soon as the live stream ended, the rioting began. Hate was being thrown, dislike buttons were being smashed, and comment sections were being brigaded by people who didn't understand that leaks were just leaks at the end of the day. Now, there were also genuine concerns about the lack of rewards from people who weren't baited by leaks, and I do sort of agree with them. Don't get me wrong, the rewards we got this update were pretty good. We got 140 limited pulls as well as free gliders, materials, and skins. The problem was that we've gotten more in previous patches. Like in version 1.2, we got the limited 5-star character Shang Liao for completing an event. And even though it was to keep players engaged during a low point, it still doesn't feel good that one of the worst patches in the game's history gave us more rewards than the actual anniversary. It led to a lot of people feeling underwhelmed because this is the anniversary after all, and in almost every other game, this is where they gave out the most free rewards. Another reason why players were so disappointed by the rewards was, funnily enough, PGR, Kuro's other game. There is something about this company and shooting itself in the foot. So coincidentally, PGR was also celebrating its anniversary around the same time as Wuthering Waves. This isn't PGR's actual anniversary, but due to the global synchronization plan, where they're combining multiple updates into one so that the global version of the game catches up to the CN version, it just so happened that the patch containing the 5-year anniversary for the game released right after WoWa 2.3. Something important to keep in mind is that currently there are a lot more eyes on PGR than usual, due to the upcoming DMC5 collab. Because of this, a lot of people were quick to notice just how wide the gap was in terms of rewards for the two anniversaries. Let's break it down. For Wuthering Waves, we'll take the anniversary rewards to be 50 pulls, since we got 140 pulls in the entire patch, while the average pulls per patch sits at around 90. On top of that, we received a free glider, a free profile picture, and a bunch of free materials. Now, what did we get for PGR's anniversary? We got a free Lucia Crimson Weave, Lucia's 6-star signature weapon, Lucia's 6-star signature cub, Lucia's best in slot teammate, X21 Feral, and X21 Feral's signature 5-star weapon. Yeah, they straight up just gave you an entire meta team for free. You also got all the materials needed to max Lucia out, but that doesn't matter too much unless you're a new player. Also, I'm not including the free Lilith in this list since she was given out in the patch after the anniversary in the original CN release. So yeah, you can see why people would be disappointed with WoWa's anniversary rewards when comparing them side to side. While a lot of people already knew they wouldn't be on the same level as this is PGR's 5-year anniversary and only WoWa's first year, players were still hoping that it meant WoWa's anniversary rewards would be much more significant compared to other major gachas, which it just wasn't. The final thing I wanted to talk about is the update preview livestream. Now, you have to keep in mind that this was one of the biggest live streams in the game's history. It wasn't just the Wuthering Waves community who had their eyes on it, but countless people from countless other communities as well, who were waiting to see how Wuthering Waves, a game constantly praised for how generous it was and how much the devs cared, would handle their first anniversary. This could only go either one of two ways, endless praise or endless doom posting. So, was the anniversary livestream actually any good? Well, I honestly don't even know how this made it past the drawing board. It was bad for multiple reasons. Let's break it down one by one. So, at the start of the livestream, we were shown this giant birthday present, and there was a lot of emphasis placed on its importance. Like, we literally saw Solon jumping out of planes and trekking his way through the harsh snowy landscapes, full on risking his life in order to deliver this present. So clearly there had to be something big inside, like a free 5-star character, a free weapon, hell, even a free temple. With how much suspense they'd built around this present, it had to be something good, right? Well, you can imagine how excited we were when the present was finally unwrapped at the end of the livestream, and it turned out to be a cake. Kura, what the fuck am I supposed to do with this? Like, okay, it might have been cool if we could actually eat the cake, but all we can do is stare at it in utter disappointment. Like, I genuinely don't get it. Did they forget we'd all be watching this live stream from our homes through our screens? Who actually thought it was a good idea to do this? Why would they purposefully make people believe it was something important, only for it to turn out to be a nothing burger? And this isn't the only time they pulled a stunt like this. Throughout the livestream, we were constantly being teased that some big announcement was coming, only for it to be some random QOL. And don't get me wrong, I love QOL, who doesn't? But I'm gonna keep it real, it's a very normal thing for an update to have, especially for Wuthering Waves. There was no reason for them to hype it up as much as they did. All that led to was players being disappointed again and again throughout the stream, especially because expectations were already so high for this patch. The only time they actually delivered on the hype and suspense they built was the Cyberpunk Edge Runners collab, which I'm actually really excited about. And oh boy, they weren't done yet. Halfway through the livestream, Solon Lee, the CEO of Kuro Games, introduced 12 character rerun banners that would go on throughout the patch. Now, this already had people raising their eyebrows. Usually, if you wanted to pull multiple rerun characters, you had the luxury of being able to wait a few weeks between each banner to save up some pulls. However, now that we had 12 older characters within the same batch, people who wanted multiple characters would be forced to pull out their wallets unless they already had a huge fund saved up. It was just really FOMO-inducing, especially because we didn't know how long it would take before these characters returned. So this obviously caused a lot of backlash. To make matters even worse, the Kuro localization team also decided they wanted to join in on the fun. Solon's reaction to these banners in classic Kuro fashion actually ended up being mistranslated. He originally said something along the lines of, "Wow, this gives the players so much freedom," which is a pretty normal thing to say in live streams like this. However, that's not what we here on the EN side heard. In our subtitles, it was actually translated to, "Wow, this is so player-friendly." This? Player-friendly? Huh? And thus began the era of Devil May Cry versus Lies of Lee. While at the end of the day it was just a mistranslation, it was a really bad look for the CEO of the company to be seen saying something like this. Especially because most people don't speak both Chinese and English fluently, and it took a while for someone to point out how it was actually mistranslated. Hell, I'm sure a majority of people even now still aren't aware of this. So yeah, overall it was just a really bad look for the game and the company as a whole. Not to mention it became one of the biggest memes in the gacha gaming space for a good few weeks. I'm pretty sure everyone has seen this image being used in discussions both inside and outside the WooBa sphere. Anyways, so what was the community's reaction to this livestream? It was obviously bad, like really bad. Initially on EN, most people agreed that the rewards were shit, but that the update itself looked interesting. Over on the CN side, the post about the anniversary on Bilibili was being heavily botted. Within a few days, the post had already reached 500,000 comments, with no sign of slowing down. And they weren't nice comments either. JP probably had the most sane reaction to the livestream. Shoutouts to our favorite Japanese spy for providing us this information. Half the community was straight up like, "Hey, these rewards aren't it," while the other half was trying to figure out what Cyberpunk Edge Runners is. Overall, people just weren't happy with the update. About half a week later, Kuro wrote out an apology for how poorly they mishandled the anniversary, saying they've been paying close attention to the feedback and released an event that gave out free tentpoles. Now, JP was really happy about this, and a lot of people even said they felt bad for the devs. EN, on the other hand, was a complete mess. Half the community was satisfied with the rewards, while the other half was not. This in turn caused the entire community to literally implode. Everyone was at each other's throats, calling them either a beggar or a dog. To make matters even worse, we saw the Wuthering Waves community being mass brigaded by other communities who were hoping to fan the flames. And on top of that, we had people misconstruing leaks, which made it seem like Kuro had actually planned the extra tentpoles from the beginning, and were only waiting for community backlash to release it in hopes of farming a devs listened moment. It got so bad that Kuro literally had to address on their official Twitter page that those leaks were false. Like, when was the last time you saw developers having to go out of their way and officially state that the leaks were fake? Overall, the community was in a pretty messy state. You cannot talk about the game without an entire angry mob of people coming after you, and it was just a miserable experience. Unless you're someone who enjoys drama, in that case you were having the time of your life. So yeah, because of all this, the vibes were at an all-time low going into the new patch. We did have a lot of content to look forward to, like the release of Zany, which had many people excited, but the community aspect of the game sucked. So yeah, that's everything that happened before the anniversary dropped. It's crazy to think about just how much there was before the update even released. With how bad the vibes were, the update really needed to be something special in order to turn people's opinions around. The odds were fully against Kuro, and unfortunately this time they weren't able to beat those odds. I just really hope they rethink how they want to go about anniversaries from now. I know they've already said they will, but you can never be too sure with billion-dollar companies. Obviously, regardless of the anniversary, I still loved Wuthering Waves as a game, and I will continue to play it for the foreseeable future. The game is definitely in good hands. There are just a lot of kinks that need to be ironed out in order for it to reach its full potential. But that's enough for me. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please make sure to like and subscribe, and tell me your thoughts down in the comments section below. Bye!